Greetings, all you WKT listeners. This is your host, Will. I first want to say thank you for all your support and feedback that you have given us. We work hard to provide you the best episodes every week. We recently upgraded all of our audio gear, so we're kind of still tweaking on the settings to give you that best audio as possible. Now, in this next episode you're fixing to listen to, called Lonesome Vine, there is small pockets of static that you're going to hear in there that shouldn't last any longer than 10 seconds. Now, with that being said, I want to again thank you for your continued support and enjoy this episode of Lonesome Vine.
Hey, Will, what are you doing?
I'm grabbing a glass of wine, man.
Brother, you know we have a podcast to do.
I know, I'm trying to keep from spilling this wine. Hey, friends, this is Will.
Hey, everyone, this is Michael.
And welcome to We Know Texas Vino.
Cheers. Well, hey, folks, welcome back. We're so excited to have you here to We Know Texas Vino. Super excited. Hey, this is Michael.
And this is Will.
Hey, and we're excited, aren't we?
Yeah, we're so excited. We're here to share for more quality time with you. We are having a blast with our first 5 episodes already. And we are pumped here to be at, what is this area called?
Yeah, is this Burleson?
Montego.
Oh, Montague.
Montague, is that how to pronounce it?
Monte.
I'm from Texas and I should know this.
Okay, so that's where we are, though. We're in Monte, Texas.
Yes, we're not Burleson.
Beautiful. And actually, I goofed up, Will. I apologize. I said on your notes 5 episodes. We've had 6 episodes. This is episode number 7 already. Can you believe that?
I know, it was 7 already. That's kind of crazy.
That's awesome. Well, let's get into it. So, hey, you're listening to episode 7, We Know Texas Vino. From what part of Texas again, Andrew?
Monte, Texas.
Monte, Texas. Okay.
Monte, yes.
Yeah, and we're here at Lonesome Vine with a great couple, Andrew, who I'm sitting next to, and Christy, who's fixing the door real quick, which is awesome. Thank you, Christy. A little breeze is kind of a fun thing.
It is nice, and the sun is shining, and there's no ice.
Oh, that is so great. Yeah. For folks who listen to this here in a couple of weeks, we just had an ice storm here in Texas, right?
Yep.
We're going to talk about that here with this great couple. So, well, welcome, Andrew and Christy. How are you guys?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Really good, thank you.
Yeah, well, we're here at your awesome facility, your awesome location here. Can you maybe just real quick tell us a little bit about what you've done here?
Yeah, so we decided to relieve ourselves of corporate responsibility and
I love that.
get out of nature a little more a few years ago, and we started planting vines here in 2018. We realized we visited Arcade, and you guys talked
Sure,
to
absolutely.
before we ever planted, and said, hey, we can do this here.
Wow.
Because they're similar soil types, similar terrain there. So that's where the idea was first seeded, probably in 2014, 2015. We started thinking about it and trying to find a way out of the corporate world to do what we enjoy and what we're passionate about.
Well, I can tell, yeah. And you have a great location here. Driving here today with my wife, we were talking about what a beautiful countryside it is, what a neat part of Texas, and kind of a lonely, lonesome road. But when you get here, what a great venue. So, Christy, tell me about what you've done here with some of the, the infrastructure and, of course, helping out across the board.
So our theme has kind of been the old Western theme. We both love old Westerns, and particularly Lonesome Dove. So we started making wine at about 2018, 2019. So we finished our winery first, and then just recently over the last year, COVID delayed us for a little bit, but we started working on our tasting room, which is a very small tasting room. That's why we're appointment only.
Wine tasting room, and I say little, it's quaint and it's cute and it's small and it's wonderful, but it's there's a great feeling to it.
Yeah.
What do you think, Will?
I think so too. I mean, it's really, when you pull up, you see this little, like a little building. Yeah. And you walk around, and you're like, oh, this is really nice, really quaint. You come in here and you get to know everybody one-on-one. And I like that. I mean, that's me personally. I'm a more of a people person. I like to sit and talk. Even Michael has to give me a finger to tell me to shut up.
Yeah, so a couple fingers sometimes, yeah. Well, awesome. Well, you guys obviously you're happy people. You're enjoying this. Andrew used the word passionate. What are some of your vision here in the next couple of years? I mean, right now you have the great rotation room. I'm looking outside. We have this door open. We're looking outside of this great vineyard right now in North Texas, which is pretty cool. But Andrew, what's the vision here for the next 5 years? If I come back here in 5 years and say, hey, hi guys, I'm back, what should I expect?
Well, we hope to get us a good following here and see how it goes with being more of an intimate venue rather than getting too big. So we are going to kind of evaluate as we go. 5 years from now, I suspect we probably come out here and won't have an employer or two, but we'll be very, very selective about those as well. And we're doing this as a semi-retirement we're not out here to try to 1,500 to 2,000 case operation is our ultimate goal. So we don't plan to get huge in retail. We want, well, the reason we're doing this because we want to provide something that people love, and we want to be able to enjoy that and share that with them.
That's awesome. Well, you're doing a good job. I'm having a glass of Tempranillo right now. It's spectacular. Yes. It's really well done.
I want to say it's very smooth, and the very end it's not as dry as some of the Tempranillos I have drank before, and it's not as dry as I was expecting to be. So it's really, I'm going to say in her terms, yummy.
Yeah, that's redneck, buddy. All right, so awesome. Well, Andrew, back to kind of what you do. So you're in charge of the vineyard, right? And so I know we've talked to a lot of hardworking men and women in this industry already, but what does the day look like for you? And we just had an ice storm. What does that look for you? Is that terrifying? We just met your dog, the welcoming committee here when we arrived today, but you have pests and pest control and all this stuff. So what are we looking at for a day in Andrew's life?
Yeah, so it just depends on the time of the year, obviously. And right now we're coming up on pruning season. So we've been going through. We do have some high school kids from the local high school.
Oh, beautiful!
Because we go. It's one thing we do to try to get involved with the community. And we go and talk to the local high schools about viticulture and a lot of their agriculture in classes. So we tend to get some really good kids coming out here and helping us, so we enjoy that. But they've been out doing rough pruning, and rough pruning, essentially, you don't do a final prune where you get it down to the number of buds you want per shoot, or cordon, or shoot position, spur position.
Okay. And those kids, are they 4-H program high schoolers who want to do it, right? They're interested in maybe the business.
Yeah, we go talk to them about viticulture in general and where the industry is and what the opportunities are. I mean, it's growing really fast in Texas, and especially here in North Texas. There's a lot of opportunity up here. There are a lot of small vineyards that don't have the labor they need to be able to do this. It's really rough. We've got 6,000 vines here that Christy and I and the kids, we all have to lay hands on every 2 times during pruning season, and then again later in the fall. So it's a lot of work.
Absolutely, for sure.
You need help and education that we can get out there and get folks interested in viticulture is great.
That's cool. It's kind of funny that you talk about the pruning, because we were at Hidden Hanger a couple of weekends ago, and they were talking about how they had the Grayson College kids out there, and they were getting to pick their own grapes, and I was like, do you give them a pair of scissors to go out there and do that?
Right. The naivety, right? The ignorance of the question. Yeah.
I mean, but it's when I think of pruning, I'm thinking, pair of scissors or getting a chainsaw and cutting limbs off the tree, the pecan tree growing up. That's what we used to do, the pruning and stuff, So it's interesting how y'all sit and prune these before the actual bud, the vines start budding.
Yeah, so that's crazy. Well, it's a lot of hard work, we know. And so this is the time, it's February. So is it kind of a February routine thing? That's what you're doing in Texas every February?
Yeah, this year is the first year that we're doing what they call rough pruning. And rough pruning is you just go take it, you leave 5 or 6 buds instead of the 1 or 2 or 3, depending on. But you don't want to prune down to 2 or 3 buds too early, because that makes the vine want to grow. And if we get warm days, if you get bud swell on your buds, then you're going to make shoots out of it. So if you leave extras and they swell, it's okay. You're going to cut them off.
Okay.
So we rough prune this time of year. And then probably the first week of March, we have to be really careful, to try not to prune too late, so we've missed or too early before we don't want them to bud before the last frost of the year, because it'll kill your primary bud. And I know y'all talked a little bit about this at RK, how they have a complex bud. There's a primary, secondary, and tertiary bud. So you only get a couple of chances. If you get 2 frosts, you don't have fruit that year. You're on your tertiary bud. So we're working on that, but we're also hoping that we're with our holistic view and regenerative viticulture approach, that we're going to mitigate some of that by making the vine a little healthier. And there's a lot of people that are starting to do it a little different than the conventional agriculture method.
Awesome. That could be a whole educational portion right there.
Yeah.
We have to come back out and talk to Andrew about that. Yeah. Andrew and Christy.
Yeah.
That's super awesome. That's amazing.
I mean, that would break our hearts if we had to come back out here.
I know. It would really break our hearts.
Third, fourth, maybe 5th or 6th time,
Yeah. Well, we'll shift gears, and that's amazing education. I mean, it seems like every time we talk to great ownership and wine, we're just learning so much. It's just awesome. But Christy, let's talk about this tasting room, okay? It's cute, it's quaint, it's unique, it's fun, it's warm, great colors here.
We definitely need to talk to her because she's been way too quiet.
I know. She's the quiet assassin, right? Yes. Yeah. So tell us about this tasting room and some of the things you've experienced here. What are some of the obstacles you run into? And then what are some of the highlights that you've had already just in 3 weeks, just a short amount of time?
Right. So it's only our third weekend open. I would say we haven't run into too many obstacles. We're still kind of working on finalizing our porch and our outside seating. There's some final touches that we still want to do, but so far the customers have been very supportive, welcoming. They actually enjoy being in a smaller, intimate setting. We've got 3 different areas to sit, but it's such tight quarters that they end up meeting new people and learning their stories. And we've really enjoyed learning about our customers and where they're coming from and their education level of wine. And they get more out of the experience here, I feel like, because we are in close quarters. They can feel comfortable to ask questions, and amongst tables, other questions come up. And it's fun to learn their level of knowledge of the wine industry.
And that's probably one of the things I love about wine is you can never not meet a stranger drinking wine.
Yeah.
I met Michael through drinking wine.
Yeah.
At the place we were working at together. I know it's weird, ain't it?
Yeah.
He comes from Alaska. I come from Texas. How would we meet?
Yeah.
But I mean, it's amazing the people that you meet when you get a glass of wine put in front of you. And next thing you know, you've got your next best friend or something like that,
And I've done the huge wine tastings. Will see me do the huge ones. One of my common statements is, are you new friends? And all that means is because of the wine industry, drinking wine, some of you have these great, it's different than the beer world or the whiskey world, in my opinion. It's a real close-knit community, which is fun. And you two are in the middle of it. Congratulations. I'm so excited for you. It's very cool.
And, sitting here doing this with them, and not just with them here, but all the other wineries we've talked to, we've become good friends with them as well.
Yeah, for sure.
And I've been chatting with some of them quite often.
Oh, good for you.
And it's really cool that to me, when you talk to somebody that has the knowledge like y'all do, I feel kind of like an underling. But if you turn the table around, because I'm an infrastructure engineer, things kind of change there, But when you get to know them and you get to know that they're actually just normal human beings, just like I am, and they want to chat and talk about their wines and their grapes and what they've been doing and their accomplishments and their failures and achievements and stuff like that, it's great to talk to them like that.
Yeah, and for our listeners right now, they're not sitting here with Andrew and Christy, but these could be our friends, right? They're real people. They're awesome, and it could be. Well, I'm just saying,
are y'all friends?
They are friends.
Yeah.
Okay, we're friends. But sometimes you meet people who they're so business-like that it's almost unattractive to build that relationship. I'm not saying I've met people in the wine industry like that, but I have met people like that. Yeah. But these two are very, very fun people. But yeah, so let's get back on track. So be proud, you guys. This is time to showcase what you've done here. What are you creating here? What are the wines we're showcasing? What are some of the varietals and things that not only are happening now, but will also happen in the next few years? So what are you excited about?
Well, I'm really excited about the estate fruit that we've gotten so far. Last year was the 5th year on our Tempranillo, and had to harvest a little bit early because of the high heat last year. Okay. But it's in barrel right now. We've got it in, I think, 4 brand new French oak barrels and a couple neutral. I'm really excited about how that wine's progressing so far. Good. We got some really good Grenache and Mourvedre last year also. We have Peak Pool Blanc. We're focusing mostly on Rhone varietals. We started with Tempranillo. We learned that Tempranillo is not so cold hardy, and we've had some late freezes, so it's a little bit harder to grow here. So we've started focusing on the Rhone varietals, and they're doing really well. We've got some earlier Syrah and Peak Pool Blanc also coming. They're only going to be on 3rd leaf this year, so we'll get to start practicing with a little bit of that estate fruit hopefully this year, but we'll get a full production from that. So I'm really excited about that. We also planted 4 total rows of Petit Verdot and Petit Syrah that we're going to play around with that we just did this year. So we're really excited.
Speaking his love language over there.
Yeah, you just spoke my melt in my chair. That's good stuff. Good for y'all. Yeah.
So how many acres do y'all have out here?
We have vines planted. We have about almost 6 acres of vines. So total of 6,000.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, and Andrew, from your perspective, what are you excited about? You are like Lonesome Vine. You're like Captain Call, man. You laid back, relaxed, totally in charge. You get it. And so, tell me, Captain, what are you excited about?
Well, I'm excited that I think last year we had such a great harvest, and looking forward to this harvest. Last year we didn't have unbelievably, and a lot of winemakers probably won't believe me when I say this. We didn't have one green grape amongst our fruit last year. Wow. Everything ripened so evenly, so together at the same time, uniformly. It was amazing, and I think we got some really good food. We actually got some High Plains Tempranillo fruit, and we have our estate fruit, and there's a marked difference between the fruits. Oh, wow. Ours is turning out so nice in the barrels right now. So I'm excited about that, and I think it's going to get even better this year. I think as far as the vineyard goes, we've stopped spraying herbicides. It's hard to manage when you have young vines not doing that, but I think the having dead soil under your vines is not beneficial.
Right.
You need to have living soil under there, which means you have the correct microbes and everything, and I think that has helped our vines tremendously and our fruit this last year since we didn't spray herbicide last year. It has been a big benefit. So I'm excited about that. I think we're going to get better every year and less. Our goal is not to spray anything out here. And we sprayed twice last year, a little bit of fungicide, and they were what they call the less environmentally detrimental ones. Anyway. So
you're very much aware of that, and you're trying to go that direction for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think now might be a good time to mention we have a worm farm, and a lot of other vineyards.
It's a great time to mention that.
Wait a minute. Let me guess. It's called I Got Worms?
Yeah. So tell us the significance of the worm farm then. Tell us what's going on there.
Yeah, so we've had a holistic consultant come out and help us, and what she helped us realize is that the microbes in the soil are the most important thing that's out there. And the way to build these is in a worm farm, you're just providing the worms food and some woody material, and they end up converting that into worm casting, which is worm poo.
Yeah.
So ultimately, after a while, you feed them and you build up enough of this, and you make an extract out of that. So you take that worm poo, and it just looks like dirt. You can tell that it was poo. You put it in a mesh bag, and you kind of incorporate that into water. You extract out, and what you're extracting out of there into the water is a bunch of microbes. So all the beneficial microbes that help the soil grow, just like if earthworms are out there in the soil, and you take this extract and you spray it on the soil and you spray it on the vines, and it helps get your soil kick-started and growing back to the way Mother Nature intended it. Along with what we're doing cover crops, really diverse cover crops help you get the diverse microbiology. It's just like my analogy is if you're doing conventional agriculture, you're killing the soil, and then you're coming in and you're putting artificial nutrients in there.
Yep.
It would be just like us living on cereal every day. We're not getting a balanced diet by living on cereal every day, or you're not putting a balanced diet for those vines by putting just straight nitrogen out there. So the soil helps interacts with the roots and creates all the nutrients and everything in the soil, so you don't have to spray any chemical fertilizers.
That's the first time we've heard that. I like it.
I like that. I mean, it's common sense. I mean, because they eat the dirt, they eat the bad stuff out of the soil, and they spit it right back out. I never really thought about having a farm or a ranch or anything like that, and throw a whole bunch of worms. So, just out of curiosity, how many worms do you have, or do you measure by individual worms, or do you do it by pounds?
Well, we have it's about a 4x4 by 3 foot tall bin that we have these worms in, and you can have as many worms as you put in food. So as long as you're putting in food, they'll just multiply to the extent where you've got enough room in the bin. So what we look at is creating enough extract to be able to spray probably, the first spraying out of the year, we do 20 gallons an acre. So 3 pounds of extract makes about 5 gallons so you don't need a lot of it. And that's kind of the beauty of it. You don't have to have this. You think of a worm farm as some huge vat or something. It's just a 4x4 bin.
That's amazing.
It's a picking bin essentially that they use for grapes. If you've seen those.
Interesting. And if you ever want to go fishing, you got one for free.
Multi-use swarm farm. I love it. Cool.
That is amazing.
That is really cool. I think that's my takeaway so far. It was pretty cool. That, and I got Andrew to say the word poo 3 times.
Yeah.
So that's a very, very beautiful thing. So cool. Well, you guys, I mean, obviously, you're heading in the right direction. I think a lot of people have a lot to learn from what you're doing here, and I think that especially because we're sitting here, and again, our listeners can't see. Yes. We have to kind of get into the video part of this eventually, but Andrew actually kind of stood up a little taller when he was talking about how proud he was of that. That's pretty darn cool. So I think that's amazing. So you got a great place here. When are you guys open? I mean, what you guys are doing weekends right now? I mean, eventually will that become a weekly gig, or are you just going to do appointments? I know you guys want to have a really, really great handle and a hand in on everyone you meet. You want to meet everyone who's here. So what does your schedule look like the next few months? Summer's coming.
Yeah, next few months we're just open Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. Eventually, hopefully, we might expand that to Thursdays, and then we're open to as needed appointments or special parties too, because we're the only ones here, so we can be flexible that way.
Okay. So if someone gives you a call on a Monday or reaches out to you on email or whatever and says, hey, we have this group on Tuesday, you would accommodate those requests if it's appropriate.
Sure, especially getting started.
Yeah, and then summer, I think right now we're just doing pretty much the tasting room here with our 2 tables in the bar. And I think we feel like we can easily add the porch onto that. So as soon as when the weather gets better, we're going to add appointments on the porch as well. So we'll be able to get, we'll probably have 15 or 20 people out here at any one time.
Perfect.
And we feel like we can still give that personal attention. If we don't, we'll back it off. So
that's awesome. I like that.
And is it a tasting? Is it what people pay for, or can they purchase bottles of wine? I mean, what do we have here for our menu?
Right. We have tastings that we usually pick for. We've got 2 dry whites right now, 6 dry reds, and a sweet white and a sweet red. We have really good pizzas and charcuterie also, but you can come and hang out for a little while, have a glass after you do a tasting if you find something that you like. And then, of course, we sell bottles to go also.
Awesome.
Or for here.
Or for here, that's right.
You'd rather have them for here, right?
Yeah. Too much fun having it here. Yeah. Full.
But, I hate to say it like this, I really dig this place out here. Mm-hmm. I mean, because it's very nostalgic for me. I grew up in West Texas. As I told you when I came in, I grew up in West Texas, and just coming out here, just to drive out here, just maybe reminisce on going out to deer lease with my dad growing up. Mm. So I really like what y'all done out here, and I've loved how y'all captured the Lonesome Dove feel to it. Yeah. And I wish y'all much more wishes and positive. What's the word I'm looking for? I'm drawing a blank now for some reason.
Like their endeavors, you're wishing them well in their endeavors.
Wish them well. That's
wish them well. That's a tough word. Yeah. I mean, that's
words are hard.
Yeah. Well, I think we talked about this pregame. I had a little wine last night and enjoyed it. So maybe the vocabulary isn't quite happening the way it should. But that's all right. He's got a big smile, doesn't he? He's got that. Always has that handsome smile. But yeah, well, cool. So, are you guys shipping wines?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. You can order online. We're only shipping to Texas right now as we're getting started, but eventually we'll expand that. We've got a lot of family and friends in other states that we want to eventually be able to ship to too.
Absolutely.
Well, you know what? You can force your family to come down here and get it.
Yes, I do that too.
Okay, that's family. I wouldn't do that. I'll say if y'all want some wine, you got to come and get it.
I do that.
We're not going to ship it to you.
What a great chance to see your family and friends. Get over here. Get over place. Yeah, and then one of my other questions here is just tours. A lot of places we've been to have done tours. Andrew, are you doing any sort of tours? Or can they schedule that with you and walk through and learn?
We haven't started that yet, but we probably will come summer when the weather gets better. We'll probably add that option to our website, and we're probably going to do at some point. We'd like to do a special tours where we go out on ATV and have a few stops and do kind of a progressive wine tasting.
That would be cool
on the property out in the woods.
Nice.
So we're working on that. We'll have that later, probably in the summer.
And so that close, okay, right around the corner. So we'll have to come back up and do that. That sounds fun.
We would have to, yeah.
Just be careful on that ATV. I can see you with wine and a all-terrain motorized vehicle.
We're not letting him drive.
He gets to ride in a trailer behind. I'll drive.
Seatbelt.
Yeah, seatbelt, the whole thing.
Oh, I have
helmet,
seatbelt.
I love it. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, cool. How we doing on time there, buddy?
I think we're doing good.
Okay, very good. So, really, it just comes down to you guys share a little bit. I mean, you've done a good job here. I mean, it's so awesome when I see people have some sort of a brainchild and they're like, okay, let's do this, and then they actually have the to go do it, which is what you two have done. But how much fun has it been? What are some of the great things you've enjoyed together doing this? And then as you cast the vision with your family, you talked about them. What are some of the neat things you're looking forward to experiencing in the next couple of years with this great venue?
Yeah, it was I'd say Christy's one of those people that is resistant to change.
Okay. Okay. Like most people, though, right? A lot of people are. Yeah. Oh, fun.
Took a little bit of a little manipulation on my part to get her friends involved, to get her to talk to her behind the scenes because she wasn't listening to me.
Right.
So in other words, cut off the credit cards.
But she finally came around, and she's grown up in the city. She didn't say, but she's originally from Kansas City.
Okay.
We allowed her here in Texas.
Mm-hmm. Despite that.
Did she get a visa and everything to move to Texas?
Well, still working on it.
She's on a green card. She's on a green card. Yeah. Awesome. You got one there, Will?
No, I think.
Okay, let me do one more. I have one more because it's always my classic question, right? I like to talk to ownership. But you have one first?
Yeah, I just want to know what is y'all's. Maybe hit just a little bit, but what is y'all's future of this whole place? What is y'all's big grand scheme? What do y'all want to accomplish out of this?
Well, I think primarily if the weather works out for us on an annual basis, which we know it's not guaranteed, ultimately we want to be a state-only winery and vineyard. We've got 6 acres right now. We'd probably have to expand a little bit more. This is all that Andrew and I can handle right now. So if we get enough labor and enough permanent help that we could train, we will eventually expand so that we can have 100% estate brew and estate wine in the next 5 years, I would say.
Oh, great.
We always like to keep our relationships up with other growers, though, because of the weather issue. You never know if you're going to have a late freeze.
That's a business savvy. I mean, that's just business savvy right there. You got a relationship. I'm sorry, Andrew.
Yeah, you got to have diversity. Just like in any industry, you can't have all your eggs in one basket.
Correct.
Right?
Yep,
So
absolutely.
If we get hail here and they didn't there, then you got to make it work.
That's beautiful. And you guys have a great community up here, don't you? Have a lot of wine growers.
Wonderful,
And, yeah.
very supportive. Everyone works together. Everyone wants everyone else to succeed. So it's been a wonderful sense of community, especially in the wine industry.
That is great.
And that's the one thing I see about the wine industry that you don't see anywhere else is the camaraderie. If you're having a problem, someone's there to help you. Say, hey, let me help you out a little bit.
Absolutely.
I've never seen that in any industry.
And probably a wine grower who does not accept that philosophy probably is weeded out, a little filtered out, a little vetted out of the collective group of
kind of like the mafia. Let's squeeze them out.
We're kind of out of here. Yeah. Well, then my final question, really for you two, and this is just more of just like, wow, what do you know that I don't know? But we've traveled all over the country, my wife and I, and from Napa Valley, we're West Coast kids. Washington, Oregonian grapes right now, phenomenal. Everything's great over there. But I've been asking a lot of people here in Texas, is Texas the next Napa Valley? And I'm curious about the first 10 or 12, 15 places we go to hear responses, because I heard just not that long ago that actually Washington State was going to be the next Napa Valley. Mm-hmm. But I'm seeing so much momentum here in Texas. I'm wondering what your guys' thoughts are on that. And will Texas in the next 10, 15, 20, even 25 years, could it become the next Napa Valley?
I have a few quick thoughts on that, and I'll let Andrew also give his opinion. I hope that we become known as great winemakers as the state of Texas, and we're still so young in the industry. We're still kind of figuring out what grows well here, what makes the best wine, and I want to be known as a great winemaking state for sure. My philosophy specifically is I like to have a relaxed, just enjoy your wine, less snobbiness feel of the wine drinking experience. So in that regard, I hope we don't turn into a Napa.
Okay, right.
Maybe more of a Paso Robles type region where everything's rural and agricultural, and hands-on growing the grapes and making the wine, I think that's where I would love to see Texas going.
I like
Be
that.
known for good winemaking skills, but take maybe the snobbiness out of it. And
I love
just
that.
A bit more enjoyment.
That's probably the best answer I've ever
Yeah,
heard.
and that's a good description of who you and I are. We enjoy the people and the
Yes.
environments and the energy
Yep.
and all the great innovation. But yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for that. That was amazing. And Andrew, wrap it up, my friend.
Yeah, I think we're going to get there. Now we've had Texas Tech has had viticulture and enology school for a while. Now Texas A&M is about to start their undergrad here. I think 24, so next year. So that'll be a big boom, for the viticulture and enology industry here in Texas. Once the largest agriculture school in the nation gets on board, which that's my alma mater. I'm disappointed that they haven't been on board before that. We do have our local viticulture experts from AgriLife that help us. So shout out to Michael Cook, does a great job. Just disappointed that the university hasn't had an undergraduate program to this point, but now they're on board with guys like Dr. Shiner. I don't know if you met him or not. He's kind of pushed that forward. So it's I think we're going to be there, and we're going to get there quickly. We're growing fast, and the question is, how does I think West Texas or the High Plains has a lot to do with it, and how much farmland are they going to convert to grapes? And we already see that grape prices are increasing pretty dramatically here. It's actually less expensive to get grapes from California right now in most cases than it is from Texas. So it's just because there's not enough supply here for the growing wine industry. So we need the viticulture industry to grow in Texas to support this growing, all these wineries that we have. We don't have enough acres under vine right now. Wow. But I think we'll get there. A&M is coming in. So I think we will eventually get there. I don't know that we'll be at the scale of hundreds of thousands of acres like Napa Valley is, but there's a potential if that happens in the High Plains.
Great. Well, I'm excited about it. Right, we got to stick it out, and hopefully this podcast will be around long enough to experience that next year. Hopefully,
like that.
Well, I'm worried about you, Will.
Well,
awesome.
I really enjoyed y'all's answers on that because I never really thought about that until you said we don't want to be Napa. And that's true. We're Texas. We're not California.
We are Texas. Yeah. That's awesome.
And that's our whole theme here. That's why we did the Texas theme. Texans are proud. We know that. Yeah. And we wanted to show we're proud Texans. As a fifth generation Texan myself, and family was here before we were Texas.
That's right.
So, I'm proud to be Texan, and that's why we've got a Texas theme, and we've got that atmosphere where we're welcoming, and we want to have that personal Texas interaction when you come out here.
That sounds great.
Awesome.
Well, we've enjoyed this, and stick around because we're going to talk more here in a moment. But we're going to move on to another segment here, right, Will? And we're going to do our educational segment here in a moment. So why don't we just stay tuned real quick? It's been fun. What a great couple.
Yeah.
And,
what was your takeaway from
Well, let's do takeaways after, and we'll always do it towards the end. Yeah, towards the end. And that way I can ponder and process and do all the things I need to do. But my takeaway right now is just the poo thing. I mean, 3 times in 1 minute. That's a beautiful thing if I get a young gentleman like that to do that, something like that. So that's a beautiful thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, we'll be back in a minute then, right, Will?
Yeah. So everybody, y'all stay tuned.
Yep,
we'll be right back.
All right, see you in a minute. Listeners, welcome back to We Know Texas Vino. This is your host, Michael. Hey, we are so excited to share this next segment, the educational edition of our podcast. If you have any ideas or topics that you would like to learn about, or you want to hear from a wine enthusiast, please reach out to us, and especially on We Know Texas Vino on Facebook. Listen, folks, grab a glass and let's saddle in for this next segment. Cheers. All right, guys, we're back. It has been so much fun being here. We've had a little glass of wine, actually a big glass of wine, and we've had sunshine after a rough week, and it's just awesome. But Will, you have some fun here. What are you going to do now?
Yes.
Now.
So we are now going to do our education point, okay? And so we're sitting here with Christy and Andrew, and help us educate our users. What did I say?
Our users.
That's my IT point.
Oh my gosh.
Our wine
listeners. That's it.
On varietals. So fill them in. Tell them, because a lot of people ask, what is a varietal? I don't understand what a varietal is.
Okay, so varietal is basically just the name of the grape that is in the wine. So Tempranillo is a varietal, which is a Spanish varietal. There are Southern Rhone varietals like Grenache, Syrah, Mourvedre, Picot Blanc. which happen to be the varietals that we're planting here. And we've noticed a lot of customers leaning toward red blends. And when I did my internship at in Paso Robles, she focused on Rhone varietal and GSM blends, which would be a Grenache, Syrah, and Mourvèdre.
Absolutely.
So that's why we planted that here. It just so happens the grapes are growing really well here, and there's so many different blends that you can do with it. You can do single varietals and still be 100% tasting good. Mourvèdre, Syrahs, Grenaches, and then you can also blend them together at different percentages and make different wines, but out of the same grape. So that's what we're going to focus on here is the estate GSMs and Tempranillos.
Awesome. And I tell you what, I've had some GSMs, and
We both have recently.
We both had some GSMs recently, and the first time I drank a GSM, I'm not going to lie, I didn't care for it.
Okay.
And then I get up and I walk back, and my girlfriend has a bottle of GSM sitting at the table, and I'm like,
And you like her, and then so you better like the wine that she chose.
Yes, but honestly, it was after the second time of drinking it, I was like, oh, okay, now I understand this. It's kind of like reading the instruction manual the first time. You're like, oh, wait a minute, we're guys, we don't read instruction manuals.
Right.
Okay, so it's like reading the instruction manual the first time. You're like, oh, I understand how this goes together now.
Yeah.
Well, interestingly, with the different varietals, when we first ran into a GSM, which I think is getting very popular in this region for sure. Actually, my wife, who's on location here today, it was her favorite for 2 or 3 months. That's all she wanted was the GSM. So what a great choice you guys are making there, based on our experiences, and then you're growing them successfully here as well.
Yeah, gives us more in our toolkit to play around with.
Right.
Whether we want to do a single varietal or the blends. And most people don't realize when they are drinking a blend, a lot of times it is a GSM blend. It just might not say GSM on the label.
Interesting. Okay, that's good. All right. See, I did not know that. That is weird, wild stuff. Yes, that's good stuff.
So, how many varietals is there? And then, the second part of that question is, what are the top, let's say, 10 varietals?
Top 10. That's a tough question.
How many varietals exist?
Yeah.
There are grapes out there that I've never even heard of that exist.
Can you enunciate those for me?
No, I love it. Isn't that genuine honesty? That's like, there's grapes. I have no clue that they even exist. I love it.
Thousands of different varietals.
So thousands of varietals.
And some of them will be called something
Hundreds of
different.
European varietals.
Okay.
Like a Petite Syrah is a Darif in another country. So
Interesting.
there's different variations of the varietals also called different names. So I don't know them.
Well,
all.
let's bring it in then. Let's
Okay.
rein it in.
All right,
a notch.
so-
We're at Lonesome Vine. Rein it in.
What are the top 5 that's varietal that's, let's say, grown in Texas?
Okay, there you go.
Just say in Texas. There we go.
I think Cabernet is growing a lot, but lesser so now. Tempranillo used to be a huge Texas grape.
There's more Tempranillo under vine in Texas than anything. Right.
Okay, so temporary number 1.
I think so.
Okay.
I think tonight's going to take that over.
Tonight, I was going to say, is another big.
It's doing
Okay,
well in Texas. When we planted 2018, we planted a little over 1.5 acres of Tempranillo. 2019, we planted another 1.5 acres of Tempranillo because that was all the rage at the time. In 2018, Tempranillo is going to be the Texas grape. And
That's right. We can.
We got a phone call coming in, guys. We got a listener wanting to ask a question.
I love it. The listeners already. Thanks for the call in. Appreciate that. Thanks for calling in today.
yeah, so I forgot where I was at.
Tempranillo.
Yeah, the talk of the town.
And then I think there's a lot of everything else is kind of split fairly evenly. I would say between there's not that much of the Rhone varietals that we're growing here, and because I just don't think it's taken off, but it's growing because I think Texas is going to do really well with the Rhone varietals, and people are starting to pick up on that along with Tanai. Tempranillo does okay and a little bit warmer towards the south. Here it didn't do so well. We planted in 2019 we planted that second 1.5 acres or so of it, and we got an early freeze that year when the vines weren't dormant yet, and they were babies, and we pretty much lost all of that.
Wow.
Ouch.
Then we had a freeze after we planted Grenache Mourvèdre, and it didn't affect them. So they're more cold hardy than the Spanish varietals, it seems. So, and then you asked about varietals. There's Grenache. They don't know whether it's a Spanish varietal, it's a Spanish name, but it's a Southern Rhone varietal as well.
Garnacha is the Spanish.
Garnacha.
So It's they don't. I'm not sure they even know where it originated, but it's the same similar grape, maybe a different clone in the two different areas. So depending on where you get your clone from. So
Interesting.
it's I think we're going to be pretty heavy on varietals, at least up in our area here.
Sounds perfect. Yeah, good.
So we got Cabernet Sauvignon, we got Tempranillo, so we got 2 there. So what's another 3 that big in the Texas area?
Grenache of it.
Grenache.
Some in the eastern portion of the state will grow non-vinifera varietals.
Can you see that 3 times fast?
You got it twice.
Non-vinifera.
That's a tough
So
one.
like Black Spanish.
Yes.
Is also really popular.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the total numbers are in the state. And then there's Muscadine. There's a white also.
They have to grow those in East Texas because of Pearson's
disease.
Yeah. It's the European varietals are real susceptible to it, and they have a bad problem with that. And there's the vector for the disease, which is an insect called the glassy wing sharpshooter.
Mm-hmm.
It'll go in and it eats a little bit of the flesh of the vine, and it passes this bacterial infection into the vine, and it can wipe out a vineyard. So
Actually, before I was even starting the first podcast, I read about that, and to think that's going to be one of our educational things. That's amazing. And so those have to be grown in East Texas because of that disease.
Interesting. Okay, so I want you to tell me that name of that bug again.
Yes.
glassy wing sharpshooter.
I want to know the
We're researching that.
I want to know the scientist is like, you know what?
Yeah.
That looks like a glassy wing sharpshooter.
I love it. Well, what else can you tell us about varietals? Our listeners are hearing you right now. We've been educated by you two, and I am as well. It's so fun to learn. But anything else you want to share on varietals in Texas?
I don't know if you got an interesting fact about varietals and the European varietals that we grow in vinifera here is that a lot of people don't know that Texas saved the European grape industry. I don't know if you talked about any of this in your other podcast.
We've heard about it. Not in the podcast, but we've talked to people about that.
We've touched it a little bit,
yes.
So Munson, who was in Denison there, and that's why the school is there for viticulture and enology, he did a bunch of research on all of the varietals of Texas. And Texas has 14 unique grape varieties of its own. You got Mustang grapes and all kinds of other grapes that grow here naturally in Texas.
Right.
So they took that rootstock. They so happened we took our disease over to Europe, and it almost decimated the vines over there. But we got the solution here from Texas, which was some Texas rootstock that was resistant to the disease, and the phylloxera.
Interesting.
That is super cool. Yeah, thanks for sharing that.
Saved the European grape industry in I think that was the 60s.
Something like that. I read about that by TV Munson.
Munson.
Okay. Yeah, I've read about TV Munson about that, what he did, and what he saved the European grape industry because of that.
That's amazing.
It's pretty amazing.
So you said it was in the 60s.
I think it was the 60s.
Okay, I thought it was more recent, but yeah, I'll look that up. That's awesome. Well, cool. Well, anything else you want to share? I know you wanted to give a shout out to a few folks.
Yeah, I do. We like we talked about earlier. The industry is very supportive. It's a very unique industry. You don't find it where people who should be competitors support each other all the time. So 4R has been great for us, and you're going to talk to Nicole and Walt soon, probably.
Yep.
And the winemaker there is Anthony, and the assistant winemaker is August. They've been a great help to us, along with Grayson and Howard at Arcade, and OG Cellar, James Hanger at OG Cellars. I mean, they've all just helped us get up the learning curve so fast, and it inspires us to want to help other people. So. And especially with the holistic management that we're still new at, but I want to help new growers with that. So I'd like, ultimately, a goal is to start some communication, whether it's a blog or some type of informational help on doing regenerative or holistic grape farming.
Interesting.
In the area, at least, if not Texas.
Well, that's awesome, and that's what this whole podcast is about, is to share everything that y'all do with everybody else, and show that this community of winemakers is somebody that works together tight knit. We're all family, me and Michael are not wine growers, we're not winemakers or anything, but we do enjoy and love Texas wine.
and we want to share the love that y'all have with everybody else, and we want to be part of y'all's family just as much as y'all are with everybody else.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, we appreciate you both very, very much.
Yes.
It's been amazing. Yeah. And we're hoping that this is beneficial for your business, for your future, and for your excitement and your memories. It's amazing. But, well, real quick, we're going to wrap it up here, Will. I mean, where can people reach out to us? And then let's have these folks tell our listeners where they can find them.
Well, before we do us, because we can't be selfish here.
That is selfish. That was backwards.
That is. Can Christy or Andrew tell us where people, our listeners, can find y'all at?
Yeah, that would be great. We are on Facebook, we are on Instagram, and then we've got a website that gives all the information. And for making reservations, it's easy also, just straight through the website, or you can call us anytime. And the website's lonesomevine.com.
Pretty simple, lonesomevine.com.
Pretty simple.
Yeah, that's how I found them today and researched a little bit. So that was fun. Appreciate you guys. Well, what a treat. So, Will, why don't you tell us how folks can reach us now, which is a great learning for me to remember that I need to stop being so selfish.
So, our listeners can find us at We Know Texas Vino on Facebook.com. You can go find us on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, all your major podcasting venues.
Yep.
And go out there and do a 5-star like on us.
Absolutely.
I actually found you guys on Audible.
Okay.
Oh, you found us on Audible.
Hey.
Yeah, when I hit it in the website or Google it, it came.
There you
Audible
go.
was the first thing.
Man.
We're everywhere.
We're everywhere now.
Well, our goal is to get big and big and really just to showcase these wineries and have some fun. So,
Yes, we are just, are centralized to Texas, but we want the world to know that Texas is here.
That's right.
And we're going to make some wine, and we're going to take them over.
That's right. Well, closing remarks. What was your takeaway, Will, from today with this great couple?
You and I
Andrew
both talked
Christy?
about this. Is the whole worm stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I was fascinated about
Yes.
that. That is like the most amazing thing in the world. I would never thought in a million years.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? We're not going to use any kind of this manufactured fertilizer. We're going to use worms.
Well, so it's so funny because that was my takeaway. You call it worm stuff, I call it holistic approach, and so I think it's awesome. Also, that you guys are venturing in that arena because I think it's very safe. I'm all about that. I think it's wonderful, and no doubt your reputation and your harvests and your success will be based, I think, a lot on that. So congratulations on that. Amazing. Get out of your comfort zone approach, right?
And best wishes to all of y'all, all your hard work, because this is a really great place. For being just a little tiny and tight-knit, it's just amazing. And I'm telling the listeners to come out here right now and see Christy and Andrew. And tell them you heard them from We Know Texas Vino.
Say it again.
We Know Texas Vino.
We Know Texas Vino, right. So let's finish up this episode today.
Yes.
It's been fun, Will. Thank you.
Yes.
Appreciate you. We're in the sunshine here and beautiful with Andrew and Christy. And so this week's quote, are you ready for it?
I'm ready for it.
You get a little silly grin when I do these, but I research these. They're all pretty unique, and I think I call them my silly quotes. But this week's quote is, wine is to women as duct tape is to men. It fixes everything. Yahoo! So we're excited about that. So another day, another glass of wine. Cheers from this phenomenal place here. We're excited about it. And not Lonesome Dove.
Not Lonesome Dove.
Lonesome Vine in Texas.
Yes.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you,
Thank you guys.
Christy and Andrew.
Thank you.
So much.
Cheers.
This is
Cheers.
wonderful. Cheers.